going on, Dodgers Nation? If you don't know me, I am Brooke. I am one of the two people on the Blue Heaven podcast every Monday night. You check us out. This guy over here, Eric Ulo, part of the 3 Up, 3 Down podcast. And today, we're getting ready for Dodgers opening day tomorrow in Colorado. I'm excited about it. There's a lot of good things happening, but the thing to talk about is who the competition is in the NL West this season, because your Dodgers are predicted to have the best record in the West, but there are two other pesky little teams down there that we always have to worry about. So we're going through these other teams. I think we can probably say
Diamondbacks, Rockies.
The Diamondbacks and Rockies have already given up on their season before day one. Yes, they went out and got Chris Bryant. Yes, the Diamondbacks have, I don't know.
Ketel Marte.
There you go, Ketel Marte. So we can basically count out those two teams. I think last year we already counted those two teams out. We did not count out those San Francisco Giants, though, who many did not predict to do what they did. And yet, a battle throughout the entire season. It came down to the last day. One game separating the two teams. I don't know if you saw that coming. I don't think anybody in the league saw that coming. I don't think the Giants saw that coming. So you're looking at the Padres, you're looking at the Giants. In your mind, which one of these two teams presents the biggest challenge to our NL West crown?
So I trust the structural integrity of the Giants more. I think the Padres are more talented. I think the Padres will end up being second in the NL West, but I do think the Giants are still a wild card team just because there's like 17 wild cards now. But I think the Giants are still going to be a relevant team. You look at some of their older players that really outperformed a lot of projections. You look at a guy like Lamont Wade, who's injured, as well as Evan Longoria. What a shock! But I think there's going to be some regression there. But I think maybe a Giants fan would tell you that Yastrzemski will have a better year. But I just think a lot of guys outperform some things. And looking at Anthony on the pitching side of things, Anthony DeSclafani had a 3.95 expected ERA, and his actual ERA ended up being 3.17. So I think that's going to kind of fall back down to earth too. And I love the Carlos Rodon acquisition for the Giants as well.
Huge acquisition for the Giants. I think all season long we were looking at it and going, their regression is coming. It's going to happen. They're going to slide back. They're not supposed to be this good. It happened at the beginning of the year. It happened in summer. It happened in
It just kept happening. Yeah.
It just never stopped. They just kept outperforming. They did what they did. PECOTA rankings have the Dodgers at 100 wins, which I think they're kind of low on. I think they're kind of actually low on all of these in the NL West. They have the Padres set at 90, and the latest update, I think, was yesterday. They have the Giants now set at 78, which also feels incredibly low for that team.
There's some really smart people that design whatever algorithm or formula that is, but I think the Giants can be better than, what was it, 73?
It was initially 73. It's up to 78 now.
Yeah, I think though, if they're not mid-80s at the very least, I'll be pretty damn surprised.
Jock Peterson's the difference maker there, man. You go from 73 to 78 wins. It's Pearl season up there.
Well, it only took them, however long to figure out that you need a lefty power hitter, the short porch out and right. And I think, while we don't need to talk about the Rockies Stadium, which is an absolute joke and shouldn't be allowed to play professional baseball in. But finally the Giants figured out get a left-handed power hitter, not Ryan Bell. And I think if Jock Peterson doesn't get 25-30 home runs this coming year for the Giants, I will be absolutely shocked.
I can't wait to see him just hit 3 tanks off of Dodgers left-handed pitchers.
God, it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be really fun. The Padres notably this offseason went out and bought some names because. What are you gonna do? I should say trade.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. They don't buy like we do. Apparently, they don't buy their championships because they don't have one. But they get Sean Manaea. I think the biggest off-season acquisition because they don't have a real starting staff beyond Yu Darvish. Do with that what you will. Chris Paddock isn't even in the projected starting rotation right now, which is just beautiful to me. I love that so much.
I will push back on that because I think Joe Musgrove's a pretty good pitcher. I think he's solid. I like Darvish a lot. I know you have some very strong thoughts about the Padres rotation. I do think at the very least they're deep. They have maybe 6 guys that can throw. And look, Blake Snell, I think as the more and more data we get, the more and more we're kind of realizing that that Rays season, his Cy Young winning season, which he should have won, is probably not ever really going to happen again.
It was a once in a lifetime deal. Blake Snell, continue to rely on that. Continue to blow up that fame because of that one thing. His Twitch is just taken off because of that Cy Young, by the way. But they go in and add Luke Voit while already having Eric Hosmer, and then they go out and get their biggest trade acquisition of the offseason by landing Matt Beatty for basically nobody. I think Beatty's going to be a difference maker. They do lose Tommy Pham.
Speaking of someone who's going to hit 3 dongs off the Dodgers this year, Matt Beatty.
He got a little chip on his shoulder there, and I hope he does some damage. They lose Tommy Pham. They lose Adam Frazier. They lose Mark Melanson. They don't add too much in terms of bullpen depth, in terms of bench depth, but they do go out and get those names, and I think they're notable. But they also lose Fernando Tatis Jr. for most, half of the season at this point is the prediction.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to. I think it's gonna be tough for the Padres, unless the Dodgers just get hammered by injuries. It's gonna be hard for them, I think, to compete with the Dodgers when it's all said and done, just because you could lose so much ground in the first couple of months. And look, Manny Machado's been awesome. For the Padres, another former Dodger who does well against the Dodgers. But I think you can't just lose, one of the 5, 7, whatever rankings you want to look at, 10 best players in baseball for multiple months and think that you're going to be able to compete with this Dodgers team unless some crazy injury stuff happens. And, I think that's, to get on the Dodgers side of things, I think even if you have, we've talked about regression here, I think even if you have Freddie Freeman with a slow start or Betts, I think and I'll knock on wood on this brand new beautiful desk, I'll knock on some wood, but the odds of all 7 of the Dodgers' impact hitters all having bad years or slow starts, I think, is pretty low. Now that I said it, it'll happen, and everyone will point to this podcast and blame me for it. But yeah, I think the Padres, I really like their lineup. I trust their lineup even without Tatis a little more than the Giants. But I think that could also be me looking at names. I really like Cronenworth, but you look at guys like Jurickson Profar and our boy Trent Grisham, and I'm not as sold on those guys as a whole, but the Padres do have some good bats.
They do have some good bats. The Giants also have some good bats. They lose out on Buster Posey. They lose out on noted slugger Alex Dickerson. They lose out on Chris Bryant. They lost some big bats. They really did. They also lost Johnny Cueto, which I think is going to help their team in the long run.
That's an addition by subtraction.
It is, for sure it is. They also lose Kevin Gausman, who is probably, I think, the Cy Young favorite for a lot of people up in Toronto now, which is going to be huge for them. I think he was probably their best pitcher on the roster. I think Logan Webb will have some regression this year. I think people will start to figure him out a little bit. You said the Padres were probably going to give the Dodgers the most issues this year, and I think that you're right in the sense that San Diego does get up to play the Dodgers. And it's very much that sense of rivalry that they have. They want that to be a thing. They want to beat the Dodgers. They want people to stop saying that Dodgers fans fill up Petco Park whenever we play there. But I'm going to go opposite of you. I think the Giants are sneaky. I think that they are very sneaky talented. I think that Farhan is extremely good at what he does at a cost, a small cost. He's able to find those discounts. He's able to find those one-year guys. He's able to find those little tiny things that just make a team work together in terms of team chemistry. So I'm going to go the Giants this year in second place. I don't know how tight it's going to be. You hope it's not going to be tight because I predicted that the Dodgers would win the West by 4 games last year, and we lost by 1. So that's a 5-game swing there.
Yeah, I think I think it would be the Padres. I think the Giants, and you bring up a good point. I think the Giants are a lot more professional, and the Padres, as far as their business-like approach to a Dodgers series,
that's not going to go well.
Whereas no, I just mean the temperament of their players. You look at the dugout, they're not doing. And look, to each their own, but there's just a more business-like approach to the Giants, and I don't think their energy level is as high when they play the Dodgers like it is for the Padres. I would agree with you on that. But yeah, it's going to be a great season, and I think it's absolutely going to be these 3 teams, and you're going to have some really great games coming down the line with Padres, Dodgers, Giants. Hopefully, ESPN just doesn't show Phillies Mets over and over again on their primetime coverage or Apple Plus or whatever it is now. But I think you have some really good baseball that's going to be played out here on the West Coast, and it's going to be just a great year for the NL West.
It's going to be a very exciting season. We hope that it ends with the World Series, but regardless of what happens, stick with us all season long. YouTube.com/DodgersNationTV. Hit that subscribe button down below. It really helps out the channel, really helps out Doug, makes him very happy. And as always, think blue, bleed blue, and Doug's not out, but we are.